Trying to review Warhammer 3 is like trying to review the entire MCU in under a minute. It feels like this is something we've been building towards for years, so compressing my thoughts about it into a short video is proven to be quite a challenge. Like any game, there are things I absolutely love and also things I absolutely hate, but after waiting for this long, I feel like I can forgive a lot and focus on the things I enjoy, and believe me, there are definitely a lot of them. Now I'm going to try and review each aspect of the game in their own independent sections. And to no one's surprise, I'm going to be focusing on single player campaigns since that's kind of my whole deal if you haven't noticed. I'm going to be going over the gameplay. This is surprisingly how the game plays. Is it fun? Is it innovative? Approachable? And does it feel like Total War Warhammer? I'll then cover the factions. Are they different from each other? Fun to play? And are there any that are a lot better than others? Then I'll go over the story of the campaign. Is it interesting? Does it work alongside the gameplay? And is it actually fun to go through on repeat campaigns? And of course, I'll go over the visual and sound design of the game. Does it look up to date? How does it compare to other similar games? And how many things have been recycled? And finally, I'll try and reach some sort of conclusion and give you a final score out of 10 and a recommendation on if you should pick it up. Without further ado, let's get started with the gameplay. Now, if you've ever played any of the Total War Warhammer games, this isn't going to feel like a whole new game to you. There are still settlements, you still have massive scale battles with hundreds or even thousands of troops, and the AI still pesters you with the worst trade deals in the history of the world. Bruh. That being said, the game is by no means a copy and paste of Warhammer 2 but with new factions. A lot of the core gameplay has been tweaked and in some cases completely reworked, and for the most part these are very good changes. On the campaign side, the main change is to diplomacy. They've borrowed parts of the systems from 3K and Troy, rest in peace, to add the new Quick Deals tab. This allows you to choose any deal or treaty such as non-aggression pacts and trade agreements and instantly see which factions are willing to engage with you, and if they are, by how much. This can save you a ton of time that would otherwise be spent going through each faction one by one checking if they're willing to work with you. There is also the addition of Make This Work, which balances the deal with payments of currency to make it so both sides agree at the least possible cost or the most possible gain to the player. And alongside this we have the best addition yet, actual real chances of succeeding gone are the days of medium or high chance. You now just have a number, and if it's green, it's gonna succeed. These are all brilliant changes that bring the Warhammer series up to speed with the modern Total War games. Corruption has also seen some major changes, which deserve their own video, and you'll get one, so subscribe if you want to see that. Shameless plug. The short explanation of this is that there are many new forms of corruption and lands can be infected of all kinds at once, depending on what factions are roaming inside the borders. And now, rather than the basic attrition we're used to, each type provides different effects to the spreader and everyone else. And from a visual standpoint, each kind of corruption changes how the land looks, with the colour and theming of the 4 Chaos Gods, and of course the other corruptions spreading across the landscape. Aside from that, in campaign, the game is mostly the same. You still roam the map, taking on other factions in battle to capture their settlements and develop them how you see fit. Buildings are still fairly straightforward, and garrisons are still automatically assigned based on your buildings. There are a bunch of little changes, and almost all of them are for the better, like being able to move while encamped, but for the most part, it's still a Warhammer game. In battle, we are also seeing a lot of changes. Of course, everyone knows about the huge changes to sieges and minor settlements. We have entirely new maps that make these battles into more of a spectacle. The defenders are now able to build different defenses to keep the enemy out, or take them out directly with towers of all kinds, launching powerful projectiles at enemy forces. Alongside this, new maps make sieges into something that you actually have to fight tooth and nail to win, rather than rushing straight inside and slaughtering the enemy because they have nowhere to run and poor positioning due to map constraints. This also makes it a lot easier to defend your lands in the campaign, as you are no longer forced to sally forth into an open field and can instead use your settlements and defences to your advantage to win battles that would otherwise be impossible. Imagine that, you can actually defend your settlements and get an advantage for being on your own turf. Who would have thought? Alongside this, we have the Storm of Magic battles that take place inside of the Chaos Realms. These are a totally new battle type with infinite magic reserves and a random wheel of magic that buffs random laws and provides abilities to both sides. To be honest, these shake up the game a lot less if you aren't running like 4 spellcasters in an army, but they are still a lot of fun and add a lot of chaos to the Chaos Realms, which can never be a bad thing. Overall, Warhammer 3 feels like the other games in the series, whilst having a bunch of great changes which do nothing but improve the experience to add more depth and strategy, and in a strategy game, that's pretty good. Now, I've played every single faction in all of the Warhammer games, and if I've learned anything, it's that each faction feeling different is almost as important as balancing them, and in a game like Warhammer 3, where we have 8 factions on launch, this is even more important, as launch factions can tend to feel a little bare bones to allow DLCs to fill the gaps because, you know, money. Well, I don't know what the DLC is going to add because every faction here feels deep to the point of them almost being bloated, even when compared to the deepest and most complete factions in Warhammer 2. On the campaign map, you're looking at least 2 to 3 fully developed mechanics per faction, which is more than anyone we've ever seen on launch. everyone has mechanics which feel authentic to them, and add a lot of incentive to play the campaign as them all to get the full experience. For example, Nurgle can craft plagues with over 30 different pieces that spread throughout the world. Whilst doing this, he also has buildings that have a cyclical life cycle and instant recruitment. Cathay, however, have harmony, where they need to keep their faction perfectly balanced for it to function correctly. They also have trade caravans they can send across the world, as well as the Great Bastion to defend and upkeep. Compare that to Warhammer 2 factions, and the Lizard Men, with their geomantic web, are looking a little bit thin right now. Now, to players who are coming from Warhammer 2, this feels great as you basically have a bunch of fully realised factions waiting for you, but to newer players to the series, this is probably going to feel a little bit overwhelming. If only there was a channel with guides of every single faction coming at you weekly. Shameless plug. But seriously, imagine that you've never played Total War before, and this is what you're going to see. It's confusing, and you're going to struggle to make use of everything. Complexity is the cost of making factions this deep, so I only hope that there isn't too much to tick off potential new players, because the game itself is really good, it's just the learning curve might be a little bit steep. Of course, on the battle side of things, each faction has a unique roster, and again, they all feel totally different. Nurgle is slow and lumbering but extremely tanky, Khorne is all-out offense, Cathay are long-range artillery, and Kislev are bears, I think. This is the same problem as the campaign. To regular players of the series, this feels great as you have a toy box of different factions with different playstyles to choose from, but to new players, you have a bunch of factions where none of them are the same, so just when you thought you were understanding one faction, you pick up another, and you basically have to start from scratch. It's extremely rewarding when you work each one out, but if you aren't willing to commit to learning, then it could just be frustrating. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time here since I explained the story in my introduction to Warhammer 3. Basically, their god is captured in the realms of chaos, and all factions are racing to him. How this translates to gameplay is actually fairly simple. Every few turns, rifts appear across the map, and they are tears in the fabric of reality that allow you to enter the realms of chaos and take on each of the 4 demon princes who reside there. Upon beating all 4 of these princes, you have the opportunity to challenge Be'lakor, who has been holding Ursun captive all this time. If you beat him, you win the campaign, and you can recruit Be'lakor into your faction, which is a little bit odd if you're playing Kislev, but that's an argument for a whole other video. Now, the extra gameplay surrounding this is actually a lot of fun. While you're not in the Chaos Realms, you're basically trying to make the best possible army you can to survive the realms, and once you enter, you have all sorts of foes and obstacles to get past. In the realm of Khorne, you must fight as much as possible to build up bloodshed and take on the Blood God. Of course, you have to do all this while surviving and make sure you are strong enough for the final battle. In the realm of Siege, you must find a route through his maze, which is actually pretty tricky and can take the most turns out of any of the realms. Each one requires you to play a very specific way. All of this has a couple of massive problems. Now, the first one isn't that bad, I just find it a little bit odd. You can auto-resolve the survival battles. So these battles that can take upwards of an hour, depending on which one and who you're playing as and difficulties, and you can instead just hit one button and let the computer do it for you. Now, I am Captain Auto-Resolve, so you'd think I'd love this, but does that not seem like it's taking some of the wind out of your sails? Maybe make it so that once you've beaten the campaign once, you can then unlock auto-resolving, but until then you have to fight them at least once. And it would just take some of the gravitas out of it for me. Now, I know that a lot of Total War players aren't there for the battles, me included. I much prefer campaign to battle gameplay, but something like this is a step below allowing you to auto-resolve quest battles. It doesn't let you do it for those, so why should it let you do it for this, since they are technically quest battles? I don't know, man. It's up for debate. Leave your comments down below what you think of this, but personally, I think it's a little bit cheap. Now, the second problem is the main one, and it's actually pretty glaring. Now, you really have no need, in fact, you shouldn't expand in the campaign map beyond maybe 2 or 3 provinces. Think about it. These rifts spawn in pretty much every province, so no matter where you are, you can get straight in there with your legendary lord. You don't really need any more provinces than this to get a full endgame army, and in most cases, you could do it with 1. And to make things worse, these rifts spread corruption and spawn demon armies, so owning more lands just means you need to spend more time and money shutting them down and defending your lands. If you have 2 provinces, you likely have enough income to support 1 endgame army and 1 medium army to defend your lands while you're gone. So the rest of the time, you can kind of just sit there and mash end turn to get the rifts to spawn. To be fair, I'm not sure exactly how they could fix this. Maybe you could have it that the rifts only spawn in a few different provinces, so you have to constantly expand or risk going into enemy lands to get there. As is right now, you can very easily cheese the story and thus the campaign, and I'm going to have to agree with the lactose intolerant and say that this cheese is pretty bad. Now, the visuals are something that's been a hot topic since the launch of the series. It's one of the first times we've seen fancy monsters and factions clash on a scale so large, and it's been important they all look and sound the part. Now, as far as unit and map design go, This is of course some of the best in the series. Ignoring some of the light reskins on the Chaos rosters, each faction has a unique aesthetic, and you can instantly tell where you are and what faction you're looking at just at a glance. The new maps, both Siege and Land, look beautiful, and colour has finally made a return to the series, with lush green hillsides in Cathay and vibrant corrupted landscapes in the realms of Chaos. The units are all hyper detailed and their animation is outstanding, particularly the demons, with Nurglings and the Great Unclean Ones being the absolute stars in my book. Each faction also has a unique soundtrack, and while they may not all be as heavy metal as the trailer music, they still set the tone brilliantly for whatever's going on, whether it's relaxing on the campaign map or building the tension of a critical siege battle. I do hope that the soundtrack is something that will be made publicly available, as it's an area of these games that often goes unnoticed, but really brings a lot in terms of immersion. Overall, I love how the game looks, and though it may sometimes run a little bit slow, this is still in development, and I'm sure once a few performance patches and an official driver comes out, this will iron out most things. That being said, there are also a couple of areas that a lot of people will see as major downgrades. The icons for taking settlements used to be unique to each faction, have these nice little art pieces showing what each option entailed. Now we have the same for every single faction, and they are much less detailed. Now they do fit well with the UI, but it's still disappointing to see. And when we get Immortal Empires, these little bits of art just not going to be used. Another thing, when defending settlements, the towers you build always look exactly the same. They're made of wood and they're firing whatever projectiles you pick. Wouldn't it be nice to have the shitty wood for the low tier? Maybe something from stone or twisted metal for higher tiers, maybe theme them to each faction so when you've got a Nurgle one it's all green and gross and firing poo at the enemies. And these are small touches that don't really change anything because they are purely visual, but when a few of these things add up, it starts to come across as more rushed and less care has been taken. Now of course, the pandemic has slowed development and made it much more difficult, but I hope that once things calm down we get a finishing touches patch that adds these visual upgrades for free. So finally we reach the conclusion and my final thoughts on Total War Warhammer 3. Now, as a conclusion to the Total War Warhammer series, this game absolutely delivers, with enough of the same that it's still recognisable, but a ton of new innovation that makes it feel like its own entity. It may have certain problems with the campaign, but it's still a sandbox that you can get hours of fun out of. If you're a fan of the series, I can confidently say this will likely be the most fun you've had on launch, so I wholeheartedly recommend you pick it up, or at least try it out on Game Pass if you're unwilling to spend the £40 up front. Now, if you're a total newcomer to Total War Warhammer, or Total War in general, first of all, welcome. And second of all, I think this is still one of the more approachable games in the series, with a prologue to teach you the basics. Just be prepared for a lot of learning and mistakes early on until you get up to speed. But if you're into strategy games, empire management, and battles with truly epic scale, I really think you're going to enjoy this. So my final score for Total War Warhammer 3, and this may be completely biased because I love it, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a great game, held back from being perfect by a couple of key issues, but they aren't enough to stop it from being fun or stop me from recommending it. Now, if you'd like to pick it up, then I'll have some links in the description where you can grab it and give me a small kickback to support the channel if you feel so inclined. Appreciate it very, very much. Let me know what you thought of this video by leaving it a like or a dislike, and drop any comments or questions you have down below, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. If you'd like to see more Warhammer 3 content, we have guides coming thick and fast, starting with the Slaanesh Battle Guide on Friday and finishing up all the remaining factions after that, as well as all kinds of other guides and lists, so if that's something you'd be interested in, then be sure to subscribe to stay up to date and never miss a video. I'd like to take this last little bit of time to thank all supporters of the channel, such as Dominic Shamas, and in particular, Henry Tucker, XJS and Adam T for their support at that Unclean Ones tier. Really can't thank each and every supporter enough. If you'd like to support the channel yourself, you can become a member here on YouTube, a subscriber on Twitch, or a patron on Patreon. Doing so gets you shoutouts on the end screen, just like all these beautiful people. One more time, thank you all so very much for watching, and for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I will see you next turn.